Hi guys, it's me. I know you're probably mad. I would be too. I kind of ghosted. I am so sorry about it, but it's for a good reason. I promise you. We have been so busy. I know it's been like, I don't know, like a month since I posted part 1 of how to start a retail store, how to open a retail store / how to open a smoke shop. And we have done a ton of work. I definitely underestimated this process because it has been so exhausting at times, and it's literally been eating up the majority of my time. So but today I'm posting up part 2, better late than never, and we're gonna get into a discussion about licensing, permitting. We're gonna talk a little bit about how to get your inventory in and stuff like that. But first I wanted to give you a quick tour because a lot has changed since you saw the last video. Okay, so let me just give you a quick little tour of what we have going on, so at least you could see the update, and then we could take it from there. All right, so Shimon, let's go. All right, so I know the last time you guys saw this wall, only part of it was done, but we ended up bringing it over some more, like I mentioned, and it goes from the ceiling to the baseboard. It's actually been a nice addition to the shop because people will take pictures in front of it and post on their social media. So it's been kind of cool. We put a little seating area in front for anybody that wants to kind of vape or have a little bit of hookah and kind of chill out. I added some plants as well. I put all these things on the window until we get our big marquee sign above the building. We'll just have to wait for that because that's another whole permit issue, and that is basically the frontage there. And then we added a ton of displays and shelving. So we've got our like vape section, our disposable section, we've got glass, papers, kratom. We've got a bunch of different things here, more glass, but you get the general idea of it. We added some shelving for additional items, and then we did like this really cool like hookah station with the slat wall. You can probably see this a lot in most smoke shops because that's kind of like the format that most of them use, but a lot of retail stores use the hey customer a lot of retail stores will use the slat wall and different particle board kind of displays to put up their items, and that's what we did. And this is the old mirror. It's still here. We took down one, but we left the other, and then we got some cubbies and a little display table, so everything is everything. And if you guys can remember the back here, say hi. Hi. So if you guys can remember the back, this is going to be like our inventory area, so we kind of put some stuff back there, little kitchen area. And if you guys wanted to know where I'm running dual Qadir law out of these days, it's at this desk. If you've watched my old videos, then you know that this desk is my old desk from the office, and I used to have like my wall of decorations in the back, but we've moved it in here just because it makes the most sense for me right now because I'm always here at the shop. So that's where I'm running things out of at the moment. I mean, you just gotta do what you gotta do, you know? You know what I'm saying? Hustle hard, hustle hard. But that's pretty much it, guys. I think we've made a lot of progress, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. It's still a work in progress. We're still gonna add things as we go. All right, so let's get into this. But before we do, we have general business to attend to. Before I get into the meat and potatoes, guys, please head on over to that red subscribe button and hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel, like duh, and support my little channel that I have going on here. I've grown so much in the last couple of months. Like I literally went from like 600 subscribers to like over 4,000 subscribers in what seems like the matter of months. It blows my mind that even that many people watch my videos. It's kind of crazy. My trademark video just hit, I think, 25,000 views. Like that's wild to me, and I cringe every time I look at it because I'm like, oh my god, that's one of my worst videos. But thank you guys for all of your support over the last few months and the years, and I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I really honestly appreciate it. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you can get a ping every time I post one of my new videos, and feel free to follow me on my social media. The handle to my JaleneD_JD account is there, as well as the shop's the Smoke Shop's Instagram page. I'm so excited about it. Please go ahead and follow. Even if you're not in the state, at least, you know, we can keep in touch on there, and you can kind of see like the new developments and stuff and what I've been doing from a marketing standpoint to promote the shop. And maybe you can implement that in your own, or maybe there's something that you're doing that I want to implement. So let's share the wealth of knowledge, okay? All right, and if you're just getting started and you just found this video part 2, you might want to go back and watch part 1 and kind of get caught up where we are in the process, because in that video we actually started from like 0. We started from like just getting the space and through the initial process to where we are now. So you probably are best served if you watch that video first before you watch this one. So permits and licensing. The type of permits and the type of licensing that you're going to need will really be dependent on what sort of things you're selling in your store. So for me, for example, as a smoke shop, we have to have a special tobacco license, and we also have to have a special permit in order to sell CBD products in the state of Florida. So take a good look at the things that you're intending to sell in your store, whether it's clothes, tobacco, liquor, anything. Just make sure that you have the correct licensing in order to sell those products. And that's really your first step. So for example, for tobacco, we had to go to the Division of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms in the state of Florida and apply for a special license in order to sell products that had tobacco in it. In order to sell anything with CBD or hemp in it, we had to apply to the Department of Agriculture to get a hemp establishment retail permit or something like that. But there are 2 different agencies within the state of Florida, and we had to go to 2 different places in order to get those licenses. So take stock of the things that you intend to sell in your store and kind of do some research online to figure out if you need a special license in order to do that, in order to sell. What I did with my research is once I figured out, okay, well, tobacco, you need a special license. I knew that off rip, but with the CBD and hemp, every state is a little bit different. Florida actually has a pathway for you to actually do it legally in the state, which is a great thing. A lot of states don't have that, so it's kind of like a gray area, but Florida luckily had that. I just didn't know what the process was. So I contacted the Department of Agriculture, and they were super, super nice, and they let me know that there was a pathway to do this online. So I filled out the application, everything online. I provided them all of my business information, and they were able to process the application for me. It did include an inspection, so keep that in mind. Some of these underlying licenses and permits will include some sort of inspection of your place of business. So do keep that in the back of your head to make sure that you don't have anything crazy going on at your retail space when an inspector shows up, okay? So we went through that entire process, and I was issued the license shortly after the inspection. The tobacco license, on the other hand, it took a little bit longer. It took a few weeks, and I guess they had to do like background checks and research into the company and the beneficiary owners and a whole bunch of stuff I thought was really, really weird. But I guess with tobacco, alcohol, and firearms, because it's so high risk, they had to do a little bit more due diligence on who they were issuing the license to. But once I got it, I got it electronically, I printed it out, and I kept it with everything else. So those were the first 2 that I got. So what the licenses and permits that you're going to get really are contingent upon the things that you intend to sell out of your store. So do a little bit of background research, and if you feel like there's something that kind of sticks out with your retail location, meaning that it's not just like clothes or shoes or hair or cosmetics or anything like that, if there's something special about what you're doing that involves something that you might think is high risk, double check and make sure that you are compliant with all of your state regulators insofar as, well, dang, make sure that you're in compliance with all the licensing and permit requirements insofar as they're required for your particular business. So I know a lot of you are starting up like boutiques and shoe stores and things where you're selling like clothing and apparel and sometimes even accessories. I want to speak to that specifically just because there's so many of you that are doing that. When I talk about the underlying licenses and permits, you generally don't need that when you're selling like clothing and apparel, stuff like that, because there isn't like a extra licensing requirement for those types of businesses or individuals conducting those types of businesses. But just to be sure, check with your state. But generally speaking, it's not going to be the same thing like a tobacco store or a doctor's office or a lawyer's office. We all have to have special licenses to do what we do. For you, that might not be the case, but your best bet is always to confirm and make sure. But don't be surprised if you don't turn up anything and there isn't a requirement. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that there likely isn't an extra layer of licensing that you need to get in order to do so. But there are other things that you will need to do as far as licensing and permits are concerned, and I'm going to get to that shortly. What's important for you to understand is that there's 2 layers of this. So I'm trying to say it in a different way so like you can understand, because I know I talk a lot. There's 2 layers. They're your underlying licenses, and then they're your operating licenses, if you will. I'm just trying to categorize that. Those are not formal categorizations, but your underlying licenses are basically the things that you need at a bare minimum in order to be in your profession or in order to operate that type of business. So if you were a bar, you would have to have an alcohol license. If you were a lawyer, you would have to have a Florida bar license or a bar license. If you were a doctor, it'd be the same thing. So some operations will require them, some will not. So I hope that makes sense. And then you've got that second layer of permitting and licensing that you need in order to actually open your store in the first place. So that's why I say the underlying permits and licensing kind of need to be taken care of first, because the other permits and licenses are contingent upon you having those, if that all makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, leave me a comment or send me an email and I will try to clarify as soon as I can. All right, so you're probably at a place where you have already applied for your permits and licensing, and you're in your retail space, you've got your lease signed, everything we did in part 1, and you kind of want to start getting your products and inventory in. In order to do that, you're going to need what's called a reseller's permit / wholesaler's license, or sales and use tax certificate, or sales and use tax receipt. They're called a bunch of different things, but you're going to need that in place so you can purchase items from these distributors and wholesalers without paying sales tax on them, because your customers will eventually be paying sales tax on them. I'm going to do a whole video on inventory and working with distributors and wholesalers, like a substantive video, but for purposes of this video today, I just want to talk about that document, the wholesaler's permit, reseller's license, etc., whatever you want to call it. So a lot of people reach out to me asking me how they can get that, and that is something that you have to apply for with your state Department of Revenue. So whatever state you're in, do a Google search for your state Department of Revenue, and there usually is an application, a process that goes along with that. They're going to want to know about your business. They're going to want to know that it's formed in the state, or if you're a sole proprietor, they might ask you for different things. So go through that application process with your Department of Revenue, and it shouldn't be too complicated, and if so, just give them a call. A lot of times they're super friendly and they'll go ahead and walk you through the process. But once you've done that and you get your certificate or your permit or your receipt, whatever your state calls it, you're going to be able to make purchases at wholesale without paying taxes on it. That document also, and that filing is actually a way for the state to track your business, to make sure that you're going to remit whatever sales tax you collect in your business. You're going to be able to remit it to the state. So they track you in that way. Remember that your sales tax is going to be due quarterly, biannually, or annually. I'll get into another video on taxes, so don't freak out. We're going to talk about it. Don't worry about it. I just want to put that bug in your ear. So if you're at a point where you want to start like getting your inventory together and shopping around, that you know you need to get that license as / permit as well as one of the underlying permits. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Oh my God. All right, so here comes the fun part. now that you've got your underlying licenses in hand and maybe even your reseller's permit pending in the background somewhere, you can reach out to your city and ask them about the process for getting your occupational license or your business tax receipt. It's called different things in different cities, but basically what this does, it allows you to legally open your doors in your city and allow customers in to patron your business. So that is what you're going to need in order to officially open. So the real fun starts when the city starts setting up your inspections. And there are generally 5 areas of inspections that most cities are going to look into. It's going to be your plumbing, your electrical, your structural, your mechanical, and there's one more, fire and safety. So there are usually more than one inspector that comes out. In my case, I scheduled all inspections for one day, and all the inspectors came out the same day, like different times of the day, and they did their inspection. Now, a word of caution. Do not schedule your inspections unless and until you have everything put away the way, to the best of your ability, the way that you want it done. A lot of times these inspectors are going to find something wrong, but they'll just kind of let you slide and come back and just make sure that you fixed it. If you do fail an inspection, the inspector will 9 times out of 10 write down what about the particular issue failed you and how you can fix it. And then you have a certain amount of time to go ahead and fix it, and then they'll come back out for a re-inspection. Sometimes they'll tell you, which was what happened in my case with my electrical, was that I just needed to fix it, and whenever I was ready to schedule another inspection, they would just come out. I would just have to call. But be careful with that though. So try to have as much done as you can on the front end, because every time the inspectors come out, there's typically an inspection fee that's associated with it. So you don't want to waste your money on that stuff. So if you can get as much done correctly in the front end, I would recommend you do that versus having to fix it each time and then having to get re-inspected and pay a stupid re-inspection fee. That's just like a waste of money. But if you can't avoid it, you just can't avoid it. You know what I mean? All right, so after you've done your inspection and everything is passed, let's say all the inspections pass with flying colors, the inspectors will typically notify someone in the city office, the permit office, and they will issue you your business license or your occupational license. And you can pretty much open your doors after that if everything is up and ready to go. That's not always the case. I had mine before I was even ready to open, I think. It took me a while to feel 100% comfortable with the way that the store was set up. And it was still even like a little bit of a work in progress when I opened, because I think I was missing the slat wall, or I think I didn't take down the mirror. But that's generally it. So just as a quick recap, we have gotten our underlying licenses, taking into account anything special that we are selling in our retail location, where we already applied for our reseller's permit with your state Department of Revenue, the reseller, wholesaler, business sales and use tax certificate. We've already done that. And if you've gotten through all of that, then you're at a point where you should have already applied for your occupational license or your business license with your city, and you're going through the review process with that and gearing up for your inspection. Okay, so, and then hopefully all of your inspections will pass and you're ready to open. So, or you're ready to move on to the next step at least. All right, here's another quick tip for you guys that I think people often miss. Before you do any of these things with these permits and licensing, just understand that there is a fee for literally everything that you do when it comes to permits and licensing. That is how the states and the cities make their money. They generate a lot of revenue from filing fees and application fees. So please keep that in mind. They're going to tax you for everything. So it's a good idea to have a game plan beforehand about how you're going to deal with these fees. Have a good idea of what the overall cost is going to be for you for all of your licenses, all of your permits, so you can build that into your budget. You definitely don't want to be midway through this process and one, run out of money, or two, get hit with a application fee that you did not anticipate. So sometimes I feel like it's better to kind of over budget for that and fall below your budget than to under budget and have a huge surprise. So just word to the wise, just budget that in. But I mean, do whatever you want, but I would say just budget it in. All right, folks, so I feel like this was a long enough video. I hope I went over everything in a way that you can understand. These videos are, again, a little bit less formal than my other videos, but I'm really kind of doing this on the fly as things go. So I have a ton of other videos that are a little bit more formal, if you even call anything that I do formal, I don't know, but they are linked for you here and they're linked below in the description box. Please go ahead and check them out. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My text service is actually blowing up crazy. I'm not able to respond to everything immediately, but trust me, I try to get back to you guys as soon as I can. The best way to really reach me is via email. And if you need to schedule a call or book a consultation, all of my booking links are below. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Please have a blessed day, be safe, and be nice. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.